All right, for this segment, we're going to have a look on the market landscape, where the current market landscape presents a dynamic mix of opportunities and challenges across key sectors such as technology, finance and energy, both in Malaysia and globally. Discussion with Managing Director and CEO Capital Dynamic, Teng Boo, to enhance our understanding of market dynamics, aid in strategy planning and supports well-informed investment decision. I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Tan, for joining me. Firstly, we want to check on the current market trends. How are the market shares across key sectors like technology, finance and energy performing in Malaysia and globally for now?
I think in the last couple of weeks, sentiment has been a bit uncertain. Market conditions have been pretty volatile. If you look at key sectors like semiconductor, technology, the lead is coming from America, particularly NASDAQ. And I think there's quite a fair bit of nervousness over the AI rally, which some people think it has become pretty bubbly. So there is, in the last couple of weeks, there's element of uncertainty, element of nervousness, well, across most markets.
And as you mentioned, there are elements of nervousness across the markets. But what are the most promising growth sectors that investors should focus on?
Yeah, I think investors are always thinking of the upside, but I would generally want to caution investors at any point in time to also look on the downside, to protect the downside. You know, if you take care of the downside, the upside will take care of itself. So with that evergreen advice, I think in Malaysia itself, because the government has announced the increase in salaries of civil servants, I suppose private consumption within Malaysia itself would be promising. And there are some of the listed companies which will benefit from this increase in purchasing power. But other than that, I would want to, if you look at some of the companies where their prices have dropped very sharply, investors should be careful not to overpay. And the one sector that investors should be extremely cautious with is semiconductor. I am very bullish on semiconductor overall, but I think this recovery, this semiconductor recovery globally is different from the past. It is very uneven. There are sectors which are recovering strongly, and there are sectors which are still weak. Those sectors which are recovering strongly are showing some signs of maybe toppish signals. And those which are weak haven't really bounced back. So while I am still optimistic about semiconductor longer term, I think investors should be a lot more selective, a lot more choosy.
And those are the sectors that have the potential to grow strongly, as you mentioned, one of the confidence within the semiconductor in the long term. And also, there are some of among the sectors that we need to have a look or careful among the sectors that maybe have the potential to shrink. And we also have to take a look at the possibility given at the recent volatility. What strategies should investors adopt to protect and grow their portfolios?
Oh, Nina, you know, at Capital Dynamics, our strategy is always value investing. Value investing means basically investing for the long term, investing in stocks where there's margin of safety. Where is there margin of safety? When the share price compared with the intrinsic value of the company, the share price is below the intrinsic valuation. So in that sense, there is margin of safety. And if one adopts a value investing strategy, you find that generally investors are on safe grounds. So that is a strategy that we would advocate almost all the time.
And maybe you can share with us some of the recommendation on sectors or asset classes that could provide a strong returns in the coming year that have a very high level of resilience.
In terms of fixed income, I think the uh, upside potential for example, Malaysian bonds and all that would be a bit limited. In terms of currency, if you look at USD versus ringgit, the ringgit, as we expected, has strengthened substantially. In fact, the ringgit has outperformed a little bit our original forecast. So now it's about 434, 435. We think in terms of ringgit US, for the time being, I think that's about it because it has strengthened too much in too short a time. And the other sector that I would want to mainly focus on would be listed equities which are listed on, particularly on Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Chinese stocks. These are the three listed sectors that I'm optimistic on.
And we want to take a look on the market prediction and economy outlook as well. What are Mr. Tan's prediction for the Malaysian market for this year and for the first 6 months of 2025?
In terms of the macroeconomic situation, I think Malaysia is in a good spot. As I said last year in our investor day in KLCC, I said Malaysia is in a sweet spot, is in a very nice spot where a lot of factors, a lot of tailwinds are moving in the right direction. But having said that, I think we should, well, investors generally should be concerned with the US economy. It is showing quite convincing signs of a slowdown. In fact, there are pretty good signs that US economy is probably sliding into a recession. And EU is weak, so is Japan. But on the other hand, the Chinese economy is resilient and would expect to pick up momentum in 2025. So from a macroeconomic point of view, Malaysia, like I said, we are either fortunate or we have good policies or a combination of both. So macroeconomic side, Malaysia, I think I'm not particularly concerned. On the Malaysian, Bursa Malaysia, as I mentioned previously, we see maybe towards the end of this year, not that in terms of the KLCI, not that optimistic. We only see about 1,600, but that's because we are now in September. So towards the end, next 6 months, there are a lot of possible factors that could disrupt an outlook that's too optimistic. So 1,650 in the next 6 months or so, I think would be ideal, because I think there could be some, if you watch what happened to the market yesterday, where out of the blues, it just dropped 20 over points, and then suddenly, you know, for no reason, the index would just behave in a very nervous way. So I think the investors that are coming in, maybe they are more of the shorter term type. The quality of the investors may not be the long-term type. So if you have that kind of investors and a global environment where the US economy is most likely sliding into recession, I guess if our KLCI can end the year 1,650, that I think is really very remarkable.
And maybe lastly, Mr. Tan, less than 2 minutes, are there any specific opportunities in ASEAN market, particularly Malaysia, that investors should take note of?
Yeah, I guess the recent rundown in some selected stocks like SEM Engineering. SEM Engineering has got solid fundamentals. I think investors should take a look. The listed closed-end fund that we manage, iCapital.biz Berhad, has been very resilient. It's got excellent prospects. People should take a look at that. And then stocks which are going to benefit from the resilient private consumption in Malaysia. You know, some of the Adini, for example, that hasn't really gone up, but has got very strong balance sheet. So these are some of the areas I will look into.
All right. Okay, I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Tan Teng Boo, the Managing Director and CEO Capital Dynamics, for helping us understand the market dynamics from the challenges, opportunities, and what are the future outlooks. Definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in AstroAwani.com, and Niaga Awani will be taking a short break and we'll be right back.